Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you may you may be or be watching our YouTube from. This is the Consensusism Study Group. Today's date is 28th of May, 2026, and we meet again on a Thursday to discuss the philosophy and the ideology of Consensusism, which is philosophy and ideology for decolonization with respect to the African Revolution. So welcome. We meet and discuss it. We read and then we share our thinking. So thanks for joining us again. We'd like to welcome and thank those who are in the call. Thank them especially because they volunteer their time and their money in terms of buying internet to come here and share in this, you might call it, intellectual feast, just so that they can so that they can make it available for everybody else. I am myself Christian Kwame, a good son. I am. Sometimes I chair, sometimes I don't chair. Yeah, it depends on who is available. But yeah, I'd like to welcome Brother Sister Tapua. I'd like to welcome Brother CWHK. I would like to welcome Sachaba Sachiweo. I'd like to welcome General Anunnaki. I'd like to welcome Brother Ifo. Welcome Sister Ida, and welcome Sister Portia. All of us on this call are on different continents. I think Africa, Canada, US, and yeah, so it's very interesting. And Europe, by the way, in Europe. So thank you all for coming. We shall hear from Sister Ida, who's going to read for us. I've shared the passage we are reading today on the screen. And after Sister reads for us, we shall then proceed to share our thinking. It is a free space. It is a supporting space. It's a safe space for everyone to share their thinking. Even if they disagree with the texts, that's fine. Thank you for coming. So Sister Ida, you may please read for us. Thank you.
But even the theory of gravity, while it does explain the current motion of bodies, including rest, is properly silent over the question of antecedents. It does not face the question why bodies move at all, how it is that the heavenly bodies, for example, come to be moving, but only how they keep moving and why they keep moving as they do. And yet all those who conceive the universe in terms of an original superatom, which multiplied internal stresses to such a pitch as to burst asunder, thereby imply that matter has powers of self-motion, for they do not conceive this primordial building up of internal stresses in terms of externally expressed forces. That's our reading for today.
Thank you, Sister Portia, for your wonderful reading, as always.
That would be fine.
Sorry?
That's what I was laughing about. That's Sister Ida, Professor Kwame.
What did Sarah say? I missed what she said.
You called Sister Ida Sister Portia.
Oh, sorry about that. Sister Ida, sorry. You see, that's my mind. Yeah, my mind's still on Sister Portia. Yeah, Sister Ida, thank you very much for reading for us. Right. So yes. So we shall then proceed to share our thinking. We always come later to the one who has read to give them time to also go over what has been read. So, before we proceed, let's look at some keywords. Yeah. So, what are the keywords or key ideas we should first deal with? Any suggestions?
Maybe antecedents, even
Antecedents.
before.
The antecedents. Yes, brother, welcome.
That's what I wanted to say. Antecedents.
Antecedents, yeah. So antecedents. Any other word, brothers and sisters? Yeah.
Maybe the last three words: externally impress. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. External impress forces. Antecedents. What about the theory of gravity? Are we all familiar with that? And then powers of self-motion. So I think those are the four things we should look at, and then we start sharing our thinking. So let's look at antecedents. Any ideas, anyone? Or do you want me to just go ahead and share? Would you like to share? Anyone wants to share, please just jump in and share. If not, I will share with you what I have.
I think it means before, antecedent. So
That's
before,
right. Mm-hmm.
before, like your genealogy, before.
Yeah, something that comes before. Yeah. Yeah. So in this case, it will mean what? Antecedents. So in this context, it will mean what? What started the motion of bodies? So if the earth is moving, what started it? What is the antecedent of that? Yeah. So what happened before the earth started moving? So that's what it will mean in this instance. So yeah, so antecedents refer to prior causes, original conditions, or initial events that precede or give rise to current phenomena. Yeah. So in this context, the question then is what caused or what made the bodies to move? By the bodies here we mean the planetary bodies. Yeah. Yeah. The heavenly bodies. How did they come to be moving? As I said, how come Mercury, the Earth, and all the planets, how come they are all moving? You know, what caused it? So that's what it means. Antecedent there. Okay, thank you. Then let's go to externally impressed forces. Any additions, any questions? Please jump in at this point, yeah? Feel free to jump in at this point. What about externally impressed forces? So those will be influences or pushes that originate outside a given body or system. So if I stand and I push someone and the person moves because I pushed them, then me doing the pushing, I am an externally impressed force. Yeah. So if the earth is moving, and we know it's moving, it's rotating around, it's revolving around the sun, but rotating on its axis. Who pushed it to start doing that? So that's what it is. So the externally impressed force will be that which pushed the earth to start rotating on its axis and then to start revolving around the sun. Yeah. So externally impressed forces are influences or pushes that originate outside a given body or system. Yeah. Are we all happy with that? Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Let's go to the next word. Powers of self-motion. Are we all familiar with that? Powers of self-motion. Any ideas? I think we've come across this before. Powers of self-motion. Any contribution from the floor?
Maybe rotating planets.
What does it mean?
Rotating.
What do you think? Sister, you were going to say?
I said maybe rotating planets. How are the planets rotating?
Mm-hmm. So if they have powers of self-motion, what would that mean then?
That somehow they have their own spin or their own way of rotating.
Yeah, that they have the power within themselves. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so they have the power within themselves. They have an inherent capacity
Okay.
to move. So Sister Ida has powers of
So
self-motion. Yeah, go on. Please feel free to jump in. You don't need to hesitate. Just come in and say what you want to say. Yeah, it's fine. It's a time for us all to jump in. Yeah, go on, brother. Welcome. Yes.
It's a power generated from within. That is a power. No, I have forgotten a specific body.
Yeah, the power inside. So the power is within. Yeah.
Yeah. That
So
would start, or that would propel the beginning of the motion of that specific body.
So if you apply it to yourself, brother, welcome, what will it mean? So if you apply this idea to yourself, what do you think it means?
It will mean a lot of it will mean a lot of things. It will mean, first of all, the willpower. The willpower and the energy that is required to fuel the atoms and the bodily system within me in order to create that motion.
Okay. Yeah.
That will go down to the type of fuel that I should be consuming, the sugars, the carbohydrates, maybe to make the atoms start moving within the body to come in motion.
Yeah. Yeah, most certainly.
But first of all, there must be that desire to want to move before you would rely on the energy, fuel the movement.
Yeah. And so philosophically, for a man, when I say a man, I'm a human being, to have motion, they have to have the desire to move. I think that's the point you're making. Yes. So does the earth move because it has a desire to move? I'm not saying you should answer it. I'm just raising that as a question. Does Mercury move because it has a desire to move? You know, when an aeroplane is moving, is that because the aeroplane has a desire to move, or is it someone inside them? Is someone inside the earth making it move? So those are questions. I'm not saying we should answer them. I'm just throwing them out. But at least we've got the main idea, as Brother Welcome said, as Sister Ida said earlier. You have within you the capacity to move. Sister Pua, in terms of liberation, unification, development, what do you think this means, having powers of self-motion?
Sorry, Brother Kwame.
Yes.
You have mentioned the word capacity.
Yes,
to
inherent
move.
capacity, yes.
Yeah, is capacity alone enough to create the movement?
Not in the sense in which you've described it, where it depends on what you eat, it depends on whether you have the desire. Okay. But but then when you look at the earth, can we apply the same thinking to the earth? Does the earth have desire? Can the earth decide not to move tomorrow, and then suddenly there's no our whole existence collapses? I mean, if the earth is not rotating and revolving, will that collapse our universe? Does that mean we will cease to exist? In which case, if the earth has desire, that would be dangerous for us. If it gets us the way we are treating her, she will just one day wake up and say, these people are idiots, so let me just stop moving, and then the whole thing collapses. I'm just saying. Yeah. So yeah. Sister Tapua. So in terms of liberation, unification, development, how will the powers of self-motion, do you think, come in, according to your thinking?
My thoughts are directed by the last sentence in the last
Oh,
part
no,
of
no,
the
no.
sentence.
We are just looking at the words first before we get to the text. We are looking at the meaning of words. So I'm just trying to deepen understanding by asking you, how would you relate powers of self-motion to, say, liberation? What do you think? That's basically. Then we'll come to the text in a minute.
I think in order to seek to be liberated, you've got to understand the circumstances. So there's then the internal state in which you see and understand what liberation is versus the external. Because the word liberation conversely implies oppression. So the moment you start talking of liberation, you're inherently talking about oppression. Therefore, if you're going to seek liberation, you need to identify correctly the source of the oppression in order for you to attain the desired liberation.
Okay, so my question is, keeping our focus on the words for the moment, how does powers of self-motion come into what you've just said? Powers of self-motion.
In order for one to be liberated, you've got to find the strength to do it from within you.
Within you. Excellent. That's
Yes.
precisely the point.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the idea. I hope we all heard that. You have to have it within you.
And
go
Brother
on.
Kwame,
Go on.
before you find...
Yeah, go on. Yeah, go on.
Before you find the strength, you have to know that you need to be liberated.
So being conscious of the need for liberation. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Excellent. The last word. Thank you. So somebody wanted to add something?
Can I just come in here?
Yeah, come in, Sister Ama.
Because self-motion is both based on internal factors and external factors. So you can make a choice to move and you do it, but you can be pushed or forced to move in a particular way or direction because of the pressure external things are in exerting on you. So and if we're relating it to liberation, other forces can impact on your liberation, and the awareness of whether you are, and the liberation is not just being about oppressed, incarcerated, etc., may not come until certain external forces or factors have come into it. So I'm thinking about situations where and there are lots of where people have been incarcerated in various ways, children. There have been lots of cases recently where externally people have come in and freed them, liberated them, taken them out of their captivity. And it's only when they have experienced some of the, and it's not entirely 100% that they're not aware that they are in captivity, but it's only when they've come out and they've experienced a different way of that they've realized it. And I watched a program fairly recently about the Mormons and how a particular Mormon man had convinced women, young women, girls, that being married to him, he had multiple wives and some were very young children, was the way life should be. And initially, they were all very protective of him and the way they were living. But it's only when they got to, because it all comes down to what we define as liberation, when they got to experience and see a different way of living and existing, that they became aware of. So I don't think self-motion is not just about me deciding that I want to move. Self-motion may be somebody telling me. So, for instance, if somebody is whipping you and say, go over there, you will move. Is that self-motion or is that enforced motion, or is it a mixture of the two? Because over time, and this is part of what psychology teaches you when they do experiments with whatever, over time, you then start to take on the behavior where if something happens, I should move in this direction. If something happens, I should stand up or sit down. And then, do you see what I'm saying? So you've been conditioned into self-motion, but even self-motion which is against your interests.
Okay.
I'll finish there.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So thank you for kind of enlarging the discussion and helping us as at the same time when we come to the text to then have our contribution made. So we're looking at what powers of self-motion mean. And I think, as Brother Welcome said earlier, consciousness also does play a part. If you're not conscious, you are enslaved, or you are not liberated. How do you then liberate yourself? But the question was, what is powers of self-motion? The last terminology we need to look at is the theory of gravity. Remember, our Kenyan brother used to be the physicist used to be that explain these things to us, but he's not here anymore. Since he went to Kenya, he was in the UK, finished his course, went to Kenya, and he hasn't been able to join us since because the real ground in Africa can be really, really different. Sometimes being on these calls in a way a form of privilege because not everyone is able to just jump on. So thank you very much for those of you who keep coming. So theory of gravity, anyone that want to explain that to us? If not, I will just share and then we'll move on to sharing our thinking. Please feel free to jump in if you want to share what it means.
If
I'm just thinking.
Yeah, go on.
Sorry.
Yeah,
No,
go
I'm
on.
just going to. I was just going to think aloud.
Yeah,
because
think aloud. Yeah,
gravity kind of determines what you can or can't do. Because you might want to fly, but gravity would stop you.
So what is gravity, do you think? Thinking aloud, that is.
I think it's an impediment. Because
Okay.
I would love to just go.
So from the point of view of physics, do you have any idea what gravity means?
No, I wasn't in my physics class.
Yeah, you're not the only one. Okay. Anyone remember their physics class to share with us? Yes, brother, welcome. I see you've unmuted yourself. Go on.
When an apple falls from a tree, it does not fall by itself. It is being attracted by gravitational force.
But you're using the same word, gravity, again. So what is gravitational force?
That's what I can't explain.
Okay.
I think gravity keeps us in check, keeps us attached to the planet.
Yeah. So what is it? So it's a force, yeah?
Yes, it's a force that keeps us within the planet.
Yeah. So it's a force inherent in nature.
Yes.
That keeps us, that attracts. So it's an attractive force.
Uh-huh.
So it's a force that attracts bodies towards it.
Mm-hmm.
You try to jump, it will attract you back to the earth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a question. If you say towards it, does it mean gravity
towards
is
the earth? Yeah.
in
Towards
Earth?
the earth. Yeah, it must be in the earth.
Is it outside
so it's the earth.
or?
So it's in the earth and it's kind of pulling you back. So it's an attractive force.
Uh-huh. All right.
The opposite of gravity is inflation. Yeah. The force of inflation, where it's moving away. Okay. Yeah. So we hear that the universe is expanding. So if there's gravity, how is it able to expand? Because of what they call inflationary forces. So essentially, for our purposes here in this course, then, or in this course, in this class, then, the theory of gravity basically means attractive force, the force that attracts us back to the earth. Is that, I think that should be enough for us, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. It doesn't explain why the earth happens to have the power to pull us back to itself. It doesn't, yeah. So Newton's theory only describes gravity and how it's maintained. He could not explain, Newton never explained where it came from. You remember in those days, it was believed that the force, the origin of all power, all forces is God. So if Newton didn't explain where it came from, it didn't really matter because everybody understood that God was the origin of everything. But it wasn't until Einstein came that we now understand where it comes from. And it comes from the bending in the fabric of the universe. That's where it comes from. Yeah. Anyway, so I think we've gone to those words: gravity, antecedent, powers of self-motion, and externally impressed forces. So I think we now have enough to then now proceed to share our thinking. So let's start with Sister Tapua, since she's already unmuted. Thank you.
Hey, right. What, in terms of liberation and the unification of Africa, what comes to mind is the fact that in order for the unity to take place, there should be external forces that make us realize that we need to unite, but we then need to have the impetus within ourselves to unite between ourselves in order to counter the external force.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
And I think.
So, Sister Tapua,
Mm-hmm.
so you can use the words in the text if that's okay with you.
Okay.
The impetus use powers of self-motion, and
All
then for
right.
the external use externally impressed forces. And that
Mm-hmm.
way you are learning the new vocabulary. Because I
Okay.
noticed in our meeting last time, we're not using the vocabulary, even though we have them. So let's learn to
Mm-hmm.
use them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So powers of self-motion for the impetus, and
Mm-hmm.
externally impressed forces for the external. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what is going to make Africa to unite is the terms of the externally impressed forces. In other words, the Donald Trumps and the things they're doing make us realize or experience internal stresses that make us want to unite. So, in other words, not everything that is happening external of ourselves, it looks negative, but it's got a positive thing. So we've got externally impressed forces that will force us to get together and be together. But we also have a lot of stresses, internal stresses, multiple internal stresses within the different African Berlin borders that need to be resolved. So, for example, we need to understand the South African situation in the context of being as an internal stress that forces us to engage between ourselves in order to face the externally impressed force. That is the neo-colonialist forces that are trying to take advantage of us. And we also need to be able, when we're looking at some of the what we term internal stresses in African countries, we need to view them for what they are, because some of them are externally impressed forces. So you have the likes of Macron leaving the French-speaking Africans and going to Kenya to cause internal stress within the possibility of almost hindering us in terms of unification. But on the other hand, the other side, it's actually making us realize that we really need to unite now. And we see our current leaders for who they are, because then we are forced as people within the continent to want to unite. So the dialectics there is going to drive us to unity. It's just that we need to know how to take advantage of it. I'll stop there for now.
Yeah, can always come back later. Thank you. Let's go to Brother Welcome, please. Brother Welcome is not ready. You are. Yep. Go on, Brother Welcome. You've not unmuted yourself.
I did not hear the question. Sorry, beg your pardon.
Yeah, share your thinking, please.
Please pass.
Do you want to pass? Okay. Let's go to Sister Grace. Sister Grace, share your thinking, please. So let me check the chat, because some people say they can't speak, so I need to be careful. Sister Chiso, she said she can't speak. Okay, so not able to speak. Okay, so let's go to let's go to Brother General, and then we go to a Sister General.
Yes.
Yeah, share your thinking, please, on the text.
Okay. Now what I can say is, based on that gravity we're talking about, what I can say is that if we're talking about the fundamental, we can call them the four known fundamental forces. If you're going on the research of Newton, is that we have four fundamental interactions, which is 1, gravity, 2, electromagnetism, 3, strong nuclear force, 4, weak nuclear force. So that is basically just important observations. And basically it says that gravity is actually the weakest of the four known fundamental forces I've just read. But it does dominate the cosmic structure, because it acts across enormous distances and it never repels, just like electromagnetism does quite often. So the issue of Einstein and Newton is basically, we can call it an open debate or philosophical thinking. So, because Newton basically is saying that gravity is a force, and Einstein is saying gravity is space-time curvature. So, which means that when we look at the archives of the mystic schools, African mystic schools, specifically the school I'm involved in, Rastafari Mystery School, more of the explanations of the elders lean towards the explanation of Einstein, even though both of them are not incorrect. Because of a simple example that also makes, I can say, mainstream scientists to actually lean more on the side of Einstein than the side of Newton, is the fact that if I can put it in a more understandable, simplest, comprehensional point, is that if you take a big ball and put it if you have a big heavy ball and then you put it in a scratched net, and then you take small balls, you put them on that net, obviously those small balls are going to roll towards that big ball that is scratching the net, causing the net to bend. So the space-time curvature explanation of Einstein is more similar to that explanation. So my explanation, as I just explained from these researches, so my conclusion, personal perspective, is that since astronauts, when they go to the moon, every day their bones decrease bone density, and because of the gravity issue, and the fact that the most scientifically proven exercise that is effective for, I can say, human body is jumping up and down, just like those Maasai. So that tells me that there's a lot of relation between gravity and mass and energy itself. Thank you.
Yes, General, thank you for your extensive physics education. The question for us is that in terms of forces, if you bring in the other three forces correctly, electromagnetic force, strong nuclear force, and weak nuclear force, the same question remains. What is their origin? Do we know how they came to be? You see what I'm saying? So we still don't know. General, you still there? We still don't know the origin of those forces. We know they are there, but where do they come from? And
yes,
yeah, and when Newton talked about gravity, like you said, he explained it, but didn't tell us where it came from. Right? Okay. What is of interest for us is where did they come from? In other words, do these bodies have powers of self-motion? That is what is of interest to us, because our philosophical interests is whether or not Africa has powers of self-motion, given that all that Sister Amma has explained. Do we have the powers of self-motion? I mean, that is the crucial question for us. So thank you for sharing your thinking. General, you want to add something else?
Oh no, I was just wanting to say that I didn't want to say it, but according to the Anunnaki, because I'm also on that studies, everything comes from dark matter. So these gravities and these forces, whatever, they come from dark matter. Thank you.
Yes, and dark matter, we don't really know what they are. so far, we just know that they are there. Thank you very much. So let's go to Sister Amma at this point. Please share your thinking on the text, please. Thank you. And feel free to build on what you said earlier.
Sorry, I'm standing over a cooker at the moment, so go to somebody before.
Okay. All right, no problem. Let's. Sister Ida spoken already. No, Sister Ida didn't, because she read, didn't she? Sister Ida, are you now ready to share, or should I come back later to you?
No, I can try.
Okay, please proceed.
I think that we're being told that even though there is the theory of gravity, it doesn't explain all the things that are happening within the planetary bodies or within space theories and stuff like that. I was particularly interested in the second paragraph where it says that those who conceive of the universe in terms of an original superatom, which multiplied internal stresses to such a pitch as to burst. It makes it sound like almost atoms or what we would maybe think of as things that go rotten and then suddenly burst in biological terms. To me, it sounds a bit like that. But it also points out at the end that it doesn't explain all these things, and it doesn't explain the power of self-motion. Self-motion. And how it first, the build-up was first started, and whether it's in terms of externally impressed forces, because I think that also part of earth sciences will tell you that that the poles rotate every, I don't know how often, but every couple of millennia or whatever, the poles north will go to south and south will go to north. And it's like, well, what causes that? So I think it's really telling us that we don't know enough about the causes of what makes motion happen. That self-motion, it might seem like, oh, things are self-motion, but there are other forces that apply. I think that's really what I have to say.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sister Ida. Thank you. So we are going to move to, we're now going to ask Brother Sachaba to share his thinking. Yeah. So, but Saba is not ready. Sister Ida, I think you were trying to record the 26,000 years.
Recall what?
It's 26,000 years. When you were saying the poles.
Oh, right. Oh, well, I don't know. I just know that that it shows in earth sciences that
they rotate, they go around a full circle is 26,000 years. Yeah, that's the one you were referring to.
Okay, I didn't know that actually been found out how often it rotated. I just knew that it rotated.
Oh yeah, this is known by astrophysicists. It's known by our ancestors many years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So the north and south celestial poles traced out a cone in space over 26,000 years. Yeah. So the 12 houses, the 12 houses, by which I mean Sagittarius, Aries, all that was known by the ancient Egyptians. And when you went to the ancient Egyptian temples, you would see the 12 houses on the roof, and that represented the 20. General, you remember you talked about the ages, the change in the ages. This is where maybe you should come in. Yeah, when we move from one age to the another. Yeah. So for instance, we are told that in 2027 there's going to be a change in the ages. General, are you happy to share some of that? Otherwise, we'll come back to you later. Yeah, please proceed if you are happy to
Like
share.
in what sense? Like what I should explain it in what sense? These changes.
Just mention it for us so that just so we all know that it kind of revolves. It moves from one age to the another.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay. I think if I hear you properly, so you are saying so the issue of the ages. So we have since obviously it has to do with cosmology, astrology. It's tied together. So the thing is that first of all is that we have what you call or what it's called the zodiac signs or horoscopes. So we do know these things on a scientific level is basically talking about different constellations. Because, for instance, if we talk about the dog star constellation, that is a cluster of stars, you see, in the same space, orbit, or whatsoever, but it's a cluster of stars. And then within that cluster of stars, we have we have different solar systems. So within one of the solar systems, specifically the one where we are focused on, is the Series A solar system, you understand, which is basically the so-called brightest star in the sky. That is the closest star from the solar system on Earth. The orbit of Earth within the sun that we see every day. Another star that is closest to that, because the sun is a star, by the way. So the closest star from the sun is Sirius A from the Canis Major constellation. So yeah. So from knowing that fundamentals, then we know that next year 2027, the interesting phenomena of that star, different from the star that we are orbiting, is that star Sirius A of that constellation has another small star that rotates around it, which is called Sirius B. You understand?
So, General,
Yes.
what are the Dogons preparing for next year?
Yes.
As far as you know.
Yes, I was getting to that now. So now this star takes about 51 years to rotate, make a full orbit around that star. Just like Earth takes 1 year to make a full orbit around the sun. So that Sirius B takes 51 years to make a full orbit around Sirius A. So every 60 years, our Dogon people, which are the ancient priests of Egypt, they celebrate the Sigi. It's called the Great Sigi. Every 60 years. So according to studies, it's like will be the 6th, if not the 5th Sigi from the previous flood or the deluge. You understand? So they also use the rotation of Ptolo. We're talking about African traditions now, the Dogon and the changing of the times. So they also use that scientific phenomena of Series A and Series B as a way of calculating the next, you understand, the next great catastrophe that will happen on Earth. They use that to calculate it. You understand? Yes. So that is how. So different ethnicities in Africa have different secrets that they were given by our great ancestors to hold. And as we are here now, we are combining them as it was meant for us to combine them. That is why we get to find out that the times are changing. Is because of us combining these different knowledges from these different ethnicities. that we are understanding. Oh, at this time, this and this is meant to happen. At this time, this and this is meant to happen, which the white elites know. Thank you.
Thank you. So if you divide the 26,000 years over 12, you get approximately just over 2,000 years for each age. So I think you have mentioned it before, brother. Welcome, that we are in the age of, we are transitioning to the age of Aquarius. I think something you've mentioned before. We are at the end of the age of Pisces. We are transitioning to the age of Aquarius. Yeah. Thank you very much for that. Let's keep our mind on why we are looking at these things. It's about the origin of the forces. Where do they get their power from to move in terms of motion? What does physics say? What does astronomy say? What does astrophysics say? They get their power of motion from. So thank you very much. Let's now, having heard from General, let's go to I think Sister Portia. Sister Portia.
Thank you so much. I had internet connectivity drop, Prof. That's why I put the message in. I'm mindful that there's no one can request to speak. I'm mindful of that, but I just want to let you know my internet dropped.
I didn't
so
see
I
it.
just wanted you to know.
I've just seen it. Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah, no problem at all. Okay, comrades, so there are two paragraphs, very concise paragraphs. The first paragraph says there's a theory of push and pull. Oh, pardon me, this is my thinking, and then I'll share my additional thinking. So that first paragraph, there's a theory of push and pull that does not explain the beginning of time or life. The second sentence says also that it doesn't specify the essence of life or how there's a formation of life. And then the second paragraph basically says the same thing, is how life or we beings came into being. So when we began this session, it was raining where I am, and I very much believe that rains are miracles. It's a way that when you are in the rain and grounded, so in a very naturalized state, it's a way to have a portal to the healthy, loving, and wise and knowledgeable ancestors. So when I can, when it rains, I go out and just be in that connection. And so I don't know how it rains. Now, maybe if I was born several thousand years ago and not been in these racial capitalist systems, it would have just been innate in me to know, because I feel our ancestors back then were very much, and now this goes into my additional thinking, I feel our ancestors back then were very, very closer to connection of the unexplained. And it didn't mean that they could explain everything. They could explain a lot more than we now may. Even what I call the proposed philosophers, so, or arguably proposed oppressors, thinking that they can explain stuff. I saw the other day, there's a new octopus, and then I'll come back to my point. There's a new small octopus, and when they were reporting on the news, they said that they had discovered the octopus. And several years ago, I said, there's no such thing as discovering the octopus. The octopus probably is discovering them. So this kind of notion that when, particularly around arguably the European way of philosophy, that they can go out and find something, and when they find it, now that something is alive. It was alive before they were there. And so having that connection, healthy, loving, and powerful, wise and knowledgeable ancestors who knew way back then that how to tell when it's going to rain, how to move with the rain, or how to tap into other stuff. There was a movie yesterday, a 20-minute movie about the Batwa people who are in Uganda who were displaced. It was an either or, either keep the gorillas or move the people. And they moved the people rather than having the people who have been living with the guerrillas for so long, for centuries. But again, that commercialization of wanting the money, the tourist attractions allegedly, and the people, when they were talking, one of the people said, "Oh, here's a plant. You can just take this plant and you eat it, and it's sweet." And you saw the lady, the elder there, and I saw her eyes, and I was just saying, "Wow, that's how I don't want cars. I don't want mansions. I don't want any of those things." And I have had occasions where I could have went that way, and I'm so thankful I didn't, because I want a farm. I want to be with nature, with the ancestors. So all I'm saying to say, when it was raining, and then we were having discussion, I thought, this is it's about not always trying to explain everything. And that is what I think about Europeanized philosophers. They always are trying to be the most, to explain the most, like a competition. And these vastness, these universes are never to be explained. And that is, in my opinion, the magnificence of it, of many things. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your thinking, Sister Portia. Let's now go to Brother Welcome. Can you now share your thinking, Brother Welcome? Or do you still want to pass?
I still want to pass. Sorry.
Okay. Brother Sheshaba? I don't know if he said in the chat he can't speak. Okay. Oh, okay. All right. So Brother Sheshaba's network is also not very good. Okay. Right. So
I can contribute if you.
Are you ready now? All right. Go on, Sister Amanda.
Yeah. I can't even. I'm going to pick up on one of the last things Sister Portia said, which was, excuse me if I paraphrase this wrong, not always trying to explain everything. And just bear with me, Brother Kwame, as I think in a way which may be different to others, and I explain in a way which may be different to others. So allow me the space to do it.
Sorry, before you go on, can I explain? This is a space for that. You know, you are sharing your thinking. So that's precisely what we want you to do. You know, share your thinking as you see it. It's
because
fine.
I'm thinking, as I'm talking, I'm also thinking.
Yeah, that's fine.
So this whole discussion has stimulated in my mind the words from a song by an African, Labi Siffre, which is, "There are more questions than answers. The more I find out, the less I know." And I'm relating that to, and I'm trying to talk as well as look at this text, the first line, but even the theory of gravity, while it does explain the current motion of bodies, including rest, is properly silent over the question of antecedents. And to me, that highlights that science, or the sciences, because there are multiple silent sciences, don't always know everything. And if we look at science, the understanding of different aspects of the world we live in and our place in the world has changed over time and is influenced by a number of factors, philosophical, and even philosophy is influenced by a number of things. So To return to one of the things which I was trying to say before when we were talking about self-motion, motion, my understanding, is impacted on by both external and internal forces. So if we take something like, I don't know, the growth of an organism, is it
Organism.
organism? Yeah, I was trying to avoid saying the other word, which is quite similar. And again, Sister Portia mentioned rain. Now we know that in nature, water is important for all of us to grow. Growth is a form of movement. If we don't have that external factor, rain or water, we wither and die. We also need the sun to help us grow. These are external things as well. So, and I'm not saying that I understand it, but these are things that are going through my mind. So these are external things. A seed is planted. And so in terms of the conception of a human being, a seed is planted by a man into a woman, but nowadays they do it all in they can do it in test tubes. And that seed grows, it moves, it grows, it forms. And there are internal.
Istama, you've muted yourself accidentally. Istama, you've muted yourself accidentally.
Yes, I know, Brother Kwame, but I was trying to unmute myself. Technology is another thing for me.
Okay.
Can you hear me? So
yes,
these are things which are going through my mind, and then when that seed that has grown gets to the birthing stage, there's a combination of external and internal factors which enables that by now baby to be born. In terms of being, these are things that are going through my mind. And then when that baby is born, if that baby is left to its own devices when it's born, if it's not fed and watered, it will die. It doesn't have a newborn human baby does not have the ability to survive without some intervention from another human being or even potentially another animal. If a newborn baby is not fed and watered, forgetting about even anything else, it will die. If it is just left, it will die unless a human being or potentially even another animal intervenes. But then at some point, or as that newborn baby develops, it begins to develop internal things which enables it to enable self-motion. And when I think about motion, I also think about the capacity to think and reason, because a newborn baby, when it's born, doesn't have that capacity. That capacity develops over time. That capacity to, one of the first words in whatever language babies or children or toddlers start saying is no, and this and that. It has that capacity. But then some of the intervention in terms of how that child thinks is based on external factors. So again, one of the things which came to my mind is the Inuit, who formerly called Eskimos or whatever. In their native languages, they have, from what I understand, they have a multitude of words to describe snow. You go to another part of the world where snow is not existent. There isn't a word. So you see how the external environment impacts on even the way we think. And I think in terms of Africa, the external environment, both our ancestral up to the present external environment has impacted on the way we think. Our our emotional thinking. So all of these things are, are just going through my mind, which is a swirl of I don't know, a mixture of confusion now. Because even how, and I see philosophy as a form of science, even philosophy, the earth sciences, the psychology, that is impacted on by different external factors, cultures, etc., etc. So even when we're talking about, and I can't remember which brother was talking about, you were talking about the ages and whatever, the whole concept of time differs across the world. The calendar differs across the world. The let's take, the Chinese, the New Year in under one culture or one faith or one part of the world starts at a different time to in another part of the world. We know because the earth is moving and the tilt of the earth, the amount of daylight we have in one part of the world differs from another part of the world. The amount of heat we have in one part of the world differs from another part of the world. So all of these are questions. So I'll finish here because I'm gabbling on, but I think we really have to, or at least I'm thinking about the whole concept of motion and self-motion and the impact of the external on our ability to move, including motion of the mind, let me use that term, and the internal, and how over time the two of them interact. Sorry for gabbling on, but
no, it's okay. So can I ask a follow-up question then?
Of course you may, or I may not be able to answer it.
That's okay. So are you saying that powers of self-motion may be present, but they need to be, if you like, awakened by externally impressed forces? Is that what you are saying?
I need to think about that. I think I may be, but I need to reflect on that. What I'm saying is, yeah, because I think they need to be awakened or stimulated, or in some circumstances they do, and in some circumstances they don't. And that's why I gave the example of the process of a human being from conception through to birth. And then once that process is birth, because at some point we be, yeah, and yes, maybe you're right.
Can I ask a follow-up provocative question then?
Go ahead.
So would you agree with some group of people who say that the African is like a baby? They can't do anything for themselves. Look at them. We have to do everything for them. In fact, we need to go back and recolonize Africa, because look at the Africans. They are useless. In terms of the philosophical framework that we are discussing, how would you place what you are saying within that? And I think General has his hand up as well, so you might want to chip into. So maybe if you want to let him chip in and then you respond, or respond first, that's fine.
So my starting point always will be, what is the definition of useless? That in itself is not an objective definition. It's because you're starting from somewhere, in terms of there is a judgment of what is useful and what is useless based on your concept and interpretation of the world and the beings in the world and the environment you're in.
Yeah, so they are saying
that would be my starting point.
Okay.
So my next point to that is, so that will be my starting point. Who are you to define whatever I do and whatever how I live as useless? So one of the discussions I've had with people in the past is about, Africans haven't made the best use of the resources in the earth, like the gold and the diamond or whatever. And my point is, who says that those resources should be used as a way of selfish gain? Who says that those earth resources should even come out of the earth? On what basis? Because Africa, I said, in Africa we lived for centuries and centuries and centuries with gold beneath our feet and diamonds beneath our feet, and we still managed to live well, and we still managed to live in harmony. But since some of that gold and diamonds, as example, has been taken out, it's creating a lot of disharmony. What is the purpose of existence? Is it to live in harmony with the earth and each other, or is it to live in this very combative, for want of a better phrase, dog eat dog? One person lives a lot better than the others, so that's what I say. The whole definition of what is useless, the whole definition of what is fair, that in itself is shaped by how we interact with the environment. But let me stop there and let others speak.
Yeah. Would it be fair to say you've dodged my question by dwelling on the word useless? But let's go to what General has to say. General, I think you wanted to chip in. Please do so. Stomach can come back if she wants. Yeah.
Okay. So I hope you can hear me properly because I'm using headphones.
It's a bit muffled, brother.
Oh, no.
It's a bit muffled. Are you able to make it clearer?
Do I sound more clearer now?
Much better now. Much better. Go on.
So I'm just want to put the nail on the head from what I previously said. So the issue again to this thing of astrology and the movement, or this theory of gravity whatsoever. As I said, that astronomy deals with the precision of the Earth's axis. And then now on that astronomy, and then we have within it the zodiac symbolism. You understand? Whereby obviously the mystics interpret the different constellation positions that the Earth finds itself in every after 2,130 years or so. And as I just said, or as it was just said, that the age of Aquarius had started on the year 2012, and that is that we have a social proof of that Hollywood movie that was called 2012, where you can see there was obviously the earth was flooding on that movie. So that was a symbolic movie of the white elites showing that their time was up. And to close, my saying for my people is that we should understand that the systematic removal of the Anunnaki research that was done by an Austrian scientist, Zacharias Sitchin, one of the rare cold white men we have on Earth. It was removed on purpose because they know that if we blacks know that knowledge, then it will complete our divine knowledge comprehension levels. Because now what's missing from us as black intellectuals is that thing. Because without it, we will forever remain thinking that we are coming from the jungle and we're naked, and that's the image that we'll have of us. We'll not have an image of us having to have possessed advanced technology that actually built the pyramids that we see physically. You see, yet we're still talking about primitive histories concerning us. So that was the real reason. So now the age of Aquarius basically decentralizes information, meaning that the information that was centralized by the white elites from the population of the world is now becoming decentralized. That's why we have whistleblowers. That's why we have internet, because now the information is now getting to the people that was not designed for, I can say, on the perspective of the white supremacist, the commoners or the slaves populations. It was meant to stay within the so-called elite population, the actual reality. So that goes by saying that they already have the information that we had in ancient Egypt. They took that, how is the gravity, where it comes from, why it was. We have that information, but mainstream media it took other things, and then now in this age of Aquarius is starting to come up. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. Yeah, Zechariah Sitchin. Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting that um, the Epstein class think that they can hide things from us. They don't realize we have access to these things, as by the Eiffel, but the Eiffel keeps reminding us that we have our own priests who have access to these things. Anyway, let's hear from Sister Portia has a hand up. Yeah, Sister Portia, you want to chip in? Please do.
Well, I just wanted to thank Sister Alma and of course King Brother General for what they were saying. And I said this one time to someone when I was getting ready to go return home to Africa, and the person was saying, that, oh, you're going to go help them. I said, they are helping me. And then the other point, when there was some people when they were on there, because it was a time where they wanted to have like the Sex in the City of in Nigeria or Ghana, because they wanted, the high income people wanted people to know that Africa is not, all negative, and people live in mansions and everything. And then I said in a post, I said, you know what? I'm okay if I live in the tree. Now, I wasn't trying to say that us as a Keebalanese people um, are not knowledgeable, and we did not build the pyramids, because obviously we did, among many other things. It's just back to Sister Alma's point, this idea that if I live in a tree, something like that is somehow primitive or not good. I know that's not what King Brother General was saying. He's speaking to the stereotypes of Africa in a negative sense. I just remember that just because someone says that we are inferior, that doesn't make it true. And if I am staying in a tree and someone comes and says, well, why are you staying in the tree? You got all of this land we can develop. That doesn't mean that that is development. And that's why I love what Sister Alma said about the word of useless being challenged, and also the idea that just because we didn't go and take and break up the earth to have all of these quote unquote treasured things, that didn't mean that we were somehow not wise. Actually, that's so wise of us. That's so wise of us that we knew that it's better to be with nature than against nature.
But
Thank
do you
you.
not think, Sister Portia, that being wise, then you must then ensure that you are not subjugated by the unwise, that
This
you
is
take
what I'm
steps,
trying.
to ensure that those who are not wise do not have, if you like, control. Um, so if you take the global racist capitalist system we have at the moment, it has global reach. You don't have to answer this. I'm just thinking aloud. How did this come to happen? How did we allow this to happen? What
You
business?
know, they,
What business, for example, did the Moors have going to Spain in the first place? Why didn't they just stay on the continent and develop this continent? What business did they have going over the Iberian Peninsula to Spain? And then
Professor Kwame, I have to answer you on this
in the
question,
same,
because this question, I think it's a red herring. It's
go on.
almost like
Yeah,
when
yeah.
they say, well,
Come in.
it's
You
oh,
respond,
it's
sister.
almost okay. I
Mm.
gotta say this. It's like a red herring. It's
Please
almost
do.
it's almost similar to when they say, well, Africans, they sold other Africans into enslavement. It's just a distraction, not from you. I'm saying we got to challenge all these things of how we see ourselves. I was doing an exercise the other day. I said, I want to just see how my mind, when I see an African person and then when I see a European person, me who says I'm conscious, I want to see how what my actions are, not the ones I'm supposed to do, but just that action that come after I see an image. So I close my eyes and then I look and I see an African and then I see a European. I'm talking about black African, white European. Know that there's no race. And I could see that I have been conditioned to see the European better than the African. I was judgmental when I'm looking at the African, but with the European, I had a sense of trust. That's the indoctrination they don't had since the womb. They've indoctrinated us in the present day that we can't even trust ourselves. And I refuse to say I cannot trust African people. I cannot trust myself. If I cannot trust African people, then I cannot trust myself. So these points of red herrings, I say don't even deal with that. Focus on what we don't even begin. I was telling another saying this before. We don't even remember all the thousands of years that Africa was in existence. If you do the math, the colonial time of this horrific racial capitalism is what? It's what, 500 years, they say? That's what we keep saying, 500 years. How many centuries, how many millennia did us as Black people exist before this horrific systems? So there's no comparison. So all I'm trying to say is I'm not trying to be lolly dolly and make it like, oh, everything was perfect. I'll choose a Kibalon any day.
So you don't think that when someone raises a question, you don't have to answer, by the way. Someone raises a question. If you believe in God, nothing wrong with believing in God, and then you are praying, and whilst you are praying, you close your eyes. And whilst your eyes are closed, thieves come and steal the things around you. You don't think you have some responsibility for closing your eyes in the first place? Anyway, Sister Amma, you raised your hand. You wanted to chip in, and Sister Chizoma after that.
It all goes back to what, you're really making me think. So I'm going to be up all night thinking. It goes back to concepts of things. So for instance, how do we know that this year is 2026? Because if you go to another calendar of another group of people in the world, this year is not 2026. But dominating the world at this point in time, we have been told this year is 2026. And it is linked to, and I'm not saying whether this is correct or not, it is linked to AD, Anno Domini after Christ, and BC before Christ. And that's what I'm saying. The whole concept of even a thief, there are cultures in the world which may not have had that concept of a thief until you are exposed to it by another culture. And if you're exposed to something that you have no concept of, you don't always deal with it in... do you see what I'm saying? So, and I'm not saying, because one of the things we should also accept is that our ancestral cultures, I always use the term cultures, were not monolithic. So different groups of people in different parts of Africa, there were similarities, but there were also differences. But to put it in its most simplistic terms, as human beings, we can live in harmony with each other and the earth, which to me, from my philosophical standing, as simply as it is the superior, or we can be in conflict with each other and the earth. Now, if we look at the way the dominant philosophy, ideology, whatever we call it, in the world at the moment, the dominant is, it means that we are living in, it's forcing us as the population of the world to live in conflict, not only with each other a lot of the time, but also with the earth, also with the natural resources around us. And I think not all, but I think a significant number of our cultures, not all, and it may be to do with the environment we were in the terms of that we lived in, let's say, very, the natural environment of Africa, the bulk of Africa is abundance. Earth, luscious green, sun, which helps to grow, the sort of like proportion of people versus land, arable land is balanced, whereas in many, let's say, northern cultures, the environment was a lot harsher in terms of the ability for human beings to survive. And this is very, very simplistic. So if somebody comes into your environment, and how you have interacted with the environment and how you have grown in terms of your thinking and your being is, I share, but that person is coming from a different perspective, which is not about I share, but I take. And you have not experienced that I take mentality, then it may take you a bit of time to catch up with. Actually, there are some people out there whose you can see it on individual levels who will dominate and I take. And by the time you're, not just you individually, collectively, you're caught up with this is what some people do. And because of that, they have developed tools of taking by force and tools of imposing harm to others. And because your environment has not developed in you both the thinking and the doing that way, then you can see, do you see what I'm saying? How that push and pull, that conflict can come in. But I think part of what we call Ubuntu, or whatever we call it in every language, is that as human beings, our aim should be to live in harmony with each other and with the earth and its resources, and which means that we do not take more from the earth than what we need. We do not take more. Why is living in a mansion seen as being superior? Those are the questions that we should ask. Why is one human being living in a building or a property with half a dozen bathrooms and bedrooms and whatever, when you can only sleep in one bed and jump in one bath? Why is that seen as being something which you should attain for? Because the ideological philosophy says that the self and selfishness is what we should be attaining, what we should be aiming for. I will finish on that note. I'm sure you're going to come back with more questions.
Thank you. On your question that this may not be 2026, that I think is correct. There is evidence that the times have been changed by the elites, that we're not actually in 2026. Brother Welcome and I had a discussion one evening where we discussed time, and we noted that Mercury takes 88 days to revolve around the sun. Venus 225 days. Mars 687 days. Jupiter 11.86 years. Saturn 29.46 years. Uranus 84 years. Neptune 164.8 years. And the Earth only 1 year. Now compare 164.8 years for Neptune, the longest, and 1 year for Earth. So 2026, it may not be, it may be meaningless in the broad scheme of things. So in that sense, Sister Amma, you are right. There is evidence to support what you said. Right. Sister Grace had her hand up, and then we'll go to Brother Glenroy if he wants to share. Yeah. So Sister Grace, please share your thinking.
Hello and good evening.
Evening. Hello.
Hi. Yeah, my comment will just be on the comments made because I missed the first bit. When I came in, Sister Tapua was talking about gravity and unification, comparing to unification, and internal and external forces. And then whilst that discussion is carrying on, then comes who decides that we are a nonsense. or we are poor people. We have to live in a certain way or in a mansion. So it's those comparisons, isn't it? Those comparisons and influence from external forces that makes us start thinking, maybe this is the right way, maybe this is the wrong way. I've always argued about the poverty in Africa. When people keep saying, especially when in the days when everywhere you went, the bus stops, the toilets, they're full of us, as has pictures of poverty and poor people. And then in my mind, I'm thinking, that same person they're calling poor has got their own house with no mortgage, no rent, in their village, living on vast sums of land. And this person who is saying this person is poor has almost nothing, living on credit. Renting from somebody, or having to find money to go and buy food, whereas these people have just got food everywhere. And like the film Sister Portia was talking about, these people who were moved from the environment they were living in, and that they miss it so much because where they've been moved now, they are influenced by external forces that you have to live in this kind of house, you have to buy your food, you have to go to school, you have to do this, you have to live this way, you have to wear these clothes. And to them, they're still missing that environment because by now they'd have gone fishing, they'd have gone hunting, they'd have gone, everything is around them. It's the same thing as the Hadzabe people, the way they live. And then comments will be, oh, why are they not having a bath? Oh, why don't they give them houses? Oh, these people are not paying taxes because they can see they're always eating. They've got plenty of food. They're happy. So some people are saying, why haven't they got forks? Why are they using their hands? Why are they cooking in one pot? All that food, where do they get it from? So it's all just those comparisons that then makes us some people think that we are they like using the word underdeveloped, but their meaning of development to us is completely different. Like Sister Amma says, we've lived with this nature for so long until somebody comes to tell us that, oh, you have to do this with it and dig your gold, dig your your all these minerals. And that's why the minerals don't stay in the country anyway. They go out because we are not using these minerals. We can live without them. They are the ones that telling us that they're precious. We need them for this, we need them for that. Things that we perhaps don't need, we've lived without them and gotten along with. And in terms of unification, it's the same thing. External forces, Trump will speak, Trump will do whatever they're doing, and then that starts bringing us together. That starts drawing us together. They are trying to convince us otherwise, or to have a narrative towards us that's different. And we are drawing together, but there'll be some forces that can actually influence certain people, and then they just start drawing away from the unification. We see that in South Africa, the whole place is divided. Some want the unification, some do. I don't even know if they don't want it or they're just doing it just because they've been told to, or they're earning from it. Or they really don't believe in it, that they are better off with the other race than, or they feel they're not the same as the people they want to live. So it's all those external forces that then dismantle our natural way of living, our way of togetherness, our way of Ubuntu, which has now been replaced by democracy. Yeah, so it just goes on and on and on. Interpretation, 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 and narrative, and narrative, and narrative. And then we start believing it, and some will fight it back. And you asked, why are we here? How did we get here? And that's how we got here. Influence, external influence, changing the way we live, wanting to live like that one, like that one, like this, like the West, like this, and not wanting to live the way Africa has always lived, and living in harmony. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Brother Glenroy, would you like to share your thinking? Or would you like to just listen for today?
Yeah, I've said in the chat, Governor, just listening for the time being.
Oh, okay. Thank you, brother. Okay, we've heard, I think, from everyone who could have spoken. We're in the last 80 minutes of the session. Sister Tapua has a hand up. We'll listen to Sister Tapua, and then I will share the announcements, as Brother Pigeon is not with us this evening. Sister Tapua, please proceed.
Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone who has contributed. But as I was listening, I started sensing that we're using the Western mindset to analyze the existence of human beings. And we're taking the expression internal, external, and externalizing some of the human beings and internalizing others. Because I'm thinking of the whole idea that we haven't got an answer yet as to the reason for life. So what we have from the experience that humanity has had, and us being the oldest that have survived on the planet, we have found ourselves divided by this new group of people that have the take mentality, that have the extraction mentality, that have the accumulation mentality, that have the discriminatory mentality versus what we have. And it has scared them to think that if we, as people of color, are in charge and know more and are, I'm going to put this in quotation marks, better than them, we might end up taking from them. Whereas they don't realize that our position is a totally different philosophical position. We are here for fairness, to share with everybody, to make humanity whole and not to other. What came to mind when we read the text was, there's an illustration that was going around in social media about ants in a container or something like that. The red ants and the white ants or black ants, and then an external force shakes the ants, and the ants start fighting in the container, thinking one of them has caused the thing. This is what I think is happening to us. Because one set is beginning to attack the other, but is it because of external forces or internal forces? Because I think the resolution to the problems that all humanity has on earth, is understanding existence from the people that have existed the longest. Because there's nothing to gain by accumulating gold and putting it in a warehouse and by that marker make other people starve and suffer. No one wins. It's getting humanity to understand that we've got to come together. We've got to be able to analyze these forces and understand that until we're positioned and are in unison, we're going to we're going to continuously fight one another. So my take is we need to start thinking beyond consolidating the African position and move on to where we're going from there. What happens when Africa is unified? The unification and the development of Africa. What does it imply for the rest of the world? And why is it that the rest of the world is scared about it? Why do they think we are supposed to be scary? Because of what they have done. So I think this is a lesson that we need to learn from the two paragraphs that we've had. Thank you.
Mm. All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Sister Tapua. Yeah, I think we are almost towards the end of the session. There are questions that arose as you spoke, but I will leave those out for a moment. So here is the so announcements. So on Saturday, we have this session, 30th of May. This session we have policing, intelligence, and continental order. So that's the topic for this Saturday. If you are able to, please do prepare and come and share with us. Then next week we have continental industrial planning, and yeah, that's for next week. Again, if you feel you can, please do prepare and come and share with us. So that's for this Saturday and the following Saturday. We are coming to June, where we'll have to renew our Zoom account. And if you are willing to support us renew the account, please get in touch with me so that we can renew our Zoom account for another 1 year. Yeah. Then on Monday there will be a session on the book defeating dictators, defeating dictators, which has also been ongoing on our book club. And then I'm not sure if the Swahili class is still going on. Otherwise, that normally takes place on Tuesday. And then we are back here on Thursday. So those are the announcements. If I've missed anything, please chip in now and share. Yep. Yes.
Brother Kwame, did you say something about Tuesday?
Yes, Tuesday used to be Swahili class, but I think Tuesday there's a meeting. Tell us a bit about it, Apostle.
Yes, thank you so much. So the Tuesday, for those who want to come into the proposed application to AU ECOSOC, by the way, they're doing a webinar on Monday to explain the application process. So I encourage all who are in our CSG proposed application WhatsApp group to attend that webinar. I've already posted in the group. So Professor Kwame has agreed to speak with us on Tuesday, the Q&A. So he's gathering a lot of the information that are part of the requirements. I'll reshare that information again, and he will show us, the evidence of what is needed. And that will follow right after the meeting that AU ECOSOC is having to all civil society who want to attend about how to apply, how to go step by step through the application. So I'll send out a reminder tomorrow. Please save the date, Tuesday, 2nd June 2026, 6 p.m. Accra, Ghana time, to attend the CSG proposed application Zoom meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Sister Tapua, you have your hand up?
Yes, please. I was just wondering whether it would be okay to let us know how much the Zoom costs so that we can pitch our contributions.
I don't recall the exact amount now, but it's about 140 something, if I'm right.
Okay.
But I can check and share
That's all
that
right.
in the WhatsApp.
It's okay. It doesn't have to be precise. It's just
Yeah, it's
okay.
about
Yeah.
it's about 100 and between 125, 155 between that.
Okay. Thank
They
you.
did give us a discount last year,
Mhm.
but we'll see because we've been with them now for a while. But Glenroy, how much did you pay to renew your Zoom account? Or you haven't done that? Have you done that recently, Brother Glenroy? That you can share with us?
I'm not responsible for it, so I actually don't know.
Right.
Sorry, Sister Judy does it.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that. Okay, you still have your hand up, Sister Tapua? If not, it's a legacy hand. Okay, so brothers and sisters, we have come to the end of today's lively and extensive session where we shared our thinking on a vast array of topics all related to the liberation, unification, development of Africa. The ancestors thank you. The Africans of today thank you. And those unborn are going to thank you because they're going to have access to these very illuminating discussions. So thank you very much. I'm going to stop the recording now. And please